something we can all do that feels good is give hugs. We can make sort of a thing of how many hugs can we give in a day. To start with, maybe 2 might be a lot. So one of the things we're going to do tonight when we leave, after a nice little affirmation, is hug as many people as you can on the way out. You don't have to count, just how many feels comfortable. And just realize what you're giving to the other person when you do that. Now feel how good it feels to get. Well, let's start with thank you for having lunch with me.
Thank you for having lunch with me.
We had a good time. We learned some stuff.
We learned some stuff.
We met some new people.
We met some new people.
We allowed ourselves to let new things come in.
We allowed ourselves to let new things come in.
And we're really ready for this afternoon session.
And we're really ready for this afternoon session.
And I love you, honey. You're so sweet.
And I love you, honey. You're so sweet.
Okay, that's the way to start the afternoon.
Yes. Yes.
I know.
I agree.
Oh, I meant to tell you this before you went out for lunch, but you can try it later. You know, if you really want to experiment something, use the affirmation, I'm beautiful and everybody loves me, and walk down the street. Just walk down the street saying I'm beautiful or handsome, and everybody loves me. And just repeat it over and over to yourself, and watch the smiles you get, watch the twinkly eyes, just watch it. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. Or I'm handsome and everybody loves me. Or I'm hot stuff and everybody loves me. You know, whatever appeals to you.
That's why whenever I'm walking with Louise anywhere, I see people drawn to her like moths to a flame, and I know what she's thinking in her head. Right? It's a great experiment. It's a fun little way to test affirmations. By doing that, I've done that. I think about you every time I do it. I laugh to myself. I'm beautiful and everybody loves me. Then I look around.
If they come too close, you just say, down, boy.
It's funny. You crack me right up. Anyway, I thought we would start the afternoon with any questions. Like, just take a few questions from people about anything that we've covered this morning. So, you know, we'll just have a handful of people come up. If you have a question, now's the time to just line up here at the microphone.
Hi, Louise. My name is Jackie. I've been following your work for almost 30 years, and I'm really grateful to have at last the opportunity to meet you.
Okay.
So thank you
She's
for
a
that.
long-time student. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I come from a culture that maybe many of us do that take pride in how difficult things are and in complaining. And I'd like to dissolve that, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about how to let go of that or dissolve the emphasis on things being difficult.
Are you saying you're supposed to suffer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that was somebody's opinion. You know, a lot of the things we believe are not true, just are not true at all. But we pick them up from what we thought was an authority figure when we were little, and we say, oh, yes, that must be true. But you have to examine your stuff as an adult. Is that really true, what you believe? Or is it only true because you've chosen to believe it? And especially if it's a negative message. So, you know, you can say, all right, this is what I was raised to believe, and it doesn't make me feel good. Now, is this really true? Do I have to continue to believe it? Or if not, what would be the other end? And how would you answer that, Cheryl? Because you're good, too.
I would say, you know, what comes to mind for me is if we look at the history of humanity, and let's just go back a few hundred years, there was a time where the reason men and women had children was to have more bodies to work in the field, okay? There wasn't a lot of conversation about inner child or loving oneself. It was pretty much, you have a child, you raise them, you put them out in the field, and the family works together to survive, really, right? As time has gone on, we become more and more psychologically and spiritually aware. We're evolving. I do believe in, the sort of Indian circle, and we're on this path. And so we're always evolving. So now, if we look at the current generation, or generations, let's say, we're the ones that are becoming psychologically aware, have been for a while, are growing and evolving spiritually. But if you go back, you realize that the belief that life was hard was because it was physically really hard, right? Those beliefs, what got updated was the way we operate in the world. We had technology, but often what isn't updated is our inner operating system, the beliefs that were aligned with how life used to be. That's why in some ways today, those of us in this room are such spiritual pioneers, because what we're saying is we're no longer willing to buy into the beliefs that belong to another era. They don't belong to us today. But spiritual pioneers often come face to face with resistance because we're breaking up the old to welcome in the new. And the greatest resistance we have is within our own hearts and minds based on the beliefs we were raised with. I was raised, for example, with a very strong belief that you have to work hard to be successful. My father worked 3 jobs. I mean, he practically worked around the clock to put food on the table. He worked very, very hard. And so I really believed that. And then one day I remember listening to an audio tape from a teacher who said, well, you could choose to believe that life is easy. It was a radical thought for me. Choose to believe, because in my head was absolutely not. If it's easy, it's not valuable. If it's easy, it's not attainable. If it's easy, it's superficial. But I began to really change that with my thinking. I work smart, not hard. Life is
That's
easy.
a good affirmation.
Yes, I work smart,
not hard.
I allow life to be easy. And what we're doing is, you see, not only are you updating the inner operating system called you, but we're also together contributing to updating humanity and the way we operate on the planet. Because, at our highest level, we are powerful spiritual beings who I personally believe at some point on the planet will instantly be able to create with our thought. It's a really good thing we don't do that now, by the way, because if you think about most of the thoughts we have each day, it wouldn't be pretty if we were creating instantly, would it? Right? So it is your birthright, and I think your responsibility, to say, it worked for them then, but it no longer works for me in the world the way it is today. And I will consciously work at affirming, I allow life to be easy. I'm willing to learn how to allow life to be easy, maybe as a beginning step.
And is there a way I can dissolve these beliefs, or dissolve these?
There was an old spiritual teacher who said to me, if you think of a teacup, many of us, if you think of the mind as a teacup, many of us attempt to take out all the negativity.
Right.
But if you fill that teacup with positivity, eventually the negativity overflows, and all you have left is positivity. So all you need to do is focus on what you want. That's what Louise is talking about. I want life to be easy. I allow life to be. You just flood yourself with that positivity, and all that old stuff will take care of itself.
And you can even do, I love my parents. You can do the affirmation, I love my parents, but I'm not limited by their belief system.
Yes. And if my father were here on this stage with you right now, because he's still alive, and follows my work, he would stand next to me and he would say, listen to her. Because my life would have been a lot easier if I had listened to her. My mother said that when she read my first book. She called me up in tears and she said to me, my God, I wish I had had a book like this when I was in my early 20s.
Sure.
And I'll tell you.
But our mothers didn't have that.
They didn't.
They didn't. They grew up under different belief systems and
Yes.
under society rules.
Yes.
And I think a lot of them are jealous at where we are now.
And it's scary
they
to
never
make those
had the
changes.
chance.
Well, it can be, but that's an affirmation.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. She said it's scary to make these changes. I don't want to in any way discount your feelings, because I think feelings are very important, and we're not saying think your way out of the negative feelings. Embrace those feelings, but tell that little girl inside of you who's afraid to live by different rules, it's safe to be here. I'll stand by you while you change the rules of the game. I know you're feeling frightened right now, but I love you, and I'll protect you. And together, you and I are going to change the way we operate in the world, which will influence many people around us. All right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Julie. I would like to know how to increase your belief in that there is a God, how to even get the belief to begin with, but certainly to increase it. And I would also like your suggestions, your thoughts on how to deal with an unloving mother who is very hurtful to me.
Is she still alive?
Yes.
And do you see her pretty regularly?
When I see her, I feel physically sick because of the things that she's doing against me.
Yes.
And I haven't, as far as I'm aware, I haven't done anything to justify it
Yes.
at all. And she won't change.
Yes. Well,
And I
Can
can't
you
do any
just
more than I'm doing.
condense this for me, because
yes,
I didn't hear it all.
yes. Sorry, she's wondering two questions, two very simple little questions.
Well, the belief will help
right.
the other, obviously.
How do you come to believe in God, and how do you deal with a difficult mother? Those could be workshops in and of themselves, right?
Well, you know, you don't have to believe in God.
I would like to do.
Okay. All right. What is God? What is the image for you of God?
I don't really have a picture. I would say, if anything, I just tend to think that there must be something. And I tend to think that it must be good.
What
That's
I'm
as far
hearing
as I
you
get.
What I'm hearing you saying, you really like to believe in something.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, for me personally, believing in life is more important to me.
Well, life to me is God.
Well, okay.
It's the
all
same.
right.
Same, I think,
Yes,
is what I
okay,
mean.
all
Yes.
right. I don't use the word God.
No, I know you don't. I particularly use God.
And the reason I don't do it is that so many people were raised with negative connotations of God. And, you know, I can remember when I used to think God was some old man sitting on a cloud watching my genitals. And I would be severely punished.
You just never know what's going to come out of her mouth. But really, how many of us have had that as kids,
you know,
right?
I mean, there's all these, and that's why I talk about life, because life to me it's more than God. Because is God limited to one planet, or are we talking about the God of the entire universe? But there are many universes. There are thousands of universes. What are we talking about when we say the word God? Are we talking about Allah? Are we talking about hellfire and brimstone? Are we going to kill somebody because they've written something in a book about Allah? There's so many things with religion that are so mixed up. If you can find a religion that supports you in your growth in your life, that's wonderful. But too many of them, I think, are just, you're bad. You're always bad, and you have to do something to make atone for it. Now, when we were children, we had to accept our parents' religion. That was a given. You had no choice. But you know, if we were to start fresh at this point, and we looked at like 2 dozen religions, there's a lot more than that, I wonder which one we'd pick. Which one would we pick? We'd do it with a different viewpoint. So anyway, I like the word life. Then we have difficult mother. Okay,
Yes.
that's my opinion. You
Yes.
can give your opinion.
Well,
So how would you suggest to actually increase your belief in life, is what I'm asking. How do you increase it, or get the belief? What do you actually do?
I'm not quite sure what you just said, but to me,
how would you increase your belief in
all right,
life?
that's how I've increased it personally, is by saying several times a day, life loves me, life loves me, life really loves me. I love life and life loves me. And then every time I get the slightest little glimmer that that's true, or something happens, I say, see, life loves me. And the other thing I do at night when I go to sleep, I go, life, inhale, loves me. Life loves me. Life loves me. And it's comforting to me to do that. That's what I personally work with.
Right, thank you.
I'm going to add to that. I would bet, has your mother always been difficult for as long as you can remember?
For a very long time,
Yes.
yes.
So I would actually also make the link between the difficulty in believing in a divine presence that loves you and the difficulty with your mother. Because what happens for a lot of us, we grow up, just like Louise said, into our family's religion, let's say. In the beginning, mom and dad are God, right? When a child is small, we rely on them for life. In our mind, they are the all-knowing, all-present being that essentially influences our ability to be present on the planet. And then some people will then begin to adopt a relationship with God that is very similar to a relationship with a parent. Especially if you haven't done any psychological healing work, we usually just transfer the relationship with mom or dad onto God, and then you get the man in the cloud looking down, judging, let's say, I mean, as an example. So, believe it or not, in order to help you increase your belief in an all-loving presence, I would probably, in addition to what Louise said, which is very important, affirming that life loves you and then looking for evidence, because you'll find it, I would also begin to look at the limitations you need to put on that relationship and the healing work that needs to be done for you, not with your mother, but just within you, the grieving work that needs to be done about being raised by a mother who was incapable of loving you in the way she should have. Or could have.
Do you have suggestions on what to actually do? Because
Yes,
I have tried as much as I know.
This is one of the most primary relationships is with the mother and father. They play out in different ways in our life. I am a big believer in very good therapy with someone who's been around for a long time and has helped other people to heal, in particular, relationships with toxic mothers. Very important. Because I think you need a guide. You can't grow up in an environment like that and know how to heal yourself. I've never experienced that with anyone I've worked with. So having some kind of a guide who can help you, can really be almost like teach you new healthy mothering for yourself by being a healthy mother to you. As you do that work with that person, some of it might require, and I've done this with clients, where they have set firm boundaries where they don't see their mother again. Now that's very difficult, I know, but this is my own personal belief. I don't believe that just because someone gave you life means you owe them yours. I do not believe that.
This is the difficulty I'm having.
And so...
I don't know how far to go. This is just the difficulty I'm having. I don't...
Say that again?
It's the sort of difficulty I'm having. I don't know whether to break off altogether, and I don't want to.
And that's not a decision I would make alone, sweetheart. I would get the guidance of someone who has helped other people to deal. This is a beautiful opportunity for you to evolve your soul to a whole other level in this lifetime. Just don't do it alone. I would encourage you to find somebody who can be present for you and can help you, who can support you as you make that decision for yourself.
Have you anything to say, Louise, about how to deal with difficult mothers?
Well, one of the things I would do is I would forgive her. I say,
Yes.
I'm willing to forgive you, and I allow you the space to forgive me. And I turn this over to life to solve. So you're willing to forgive her and allow her the space to forgive you, because she probably has a lot to forgive you for. Not that you were bad.
Sorry, what did you say? She probably...
I'm sorry.
She probably has something to forgive you for as well. So it goes both
and
ways.
it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong, but you don't know what's in her mind.
Right.
Yes.
But let's not, and Louise I know would agree with me, let's not confuse forgiving someone
With condoning.
or tolerating toxic behavior. That is not what this woman's talking about. Forgiveness happens within our own heart and mind.
But see, things have to work on more than one level.
That's right.
How?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very
You're
much.
very welcome.
You're welcome, dear. We love you.
I'm Randy. I'm very happy to be here, and this is a dream for
Can you
me coming
talk
true.
just a little louder and
Do you hear
slowly?
me now?
Yeah, there
Yes.
you go.
Yes.
Randy, right?
Yeah, I was saying I'm very happy to be here. This is a dream for me coming true. And I have basically two questions. Actually, I'm almost of the time very happy. I feel good with myself. And, well, I do so many things in order to feel good. But there are so many things that happen in the day. For example, someone says something about me or I did something wrong. And all the light that I have with shadow on, and I
Great.
will feel
Okay,
very
so
bad.
can you stop right there?
Yeah.
So this
Can
is
you
great.
translate a little?
Yes.
Thank you.
I know, it's very hard for us to hear, but you have a great story that's going to address this
Okay.
question. So he
What-
said, you know, for
what's
the
the
most
question?
part, I know, tell me if I'm right, Randy. For the most part, Randy says, I'm pretty happy throughout the day, but every now and then something will happen, like somebody will say something negative or something will occur that just brings his mood right down. And I'm thinking of that time when you were getting ready to go to the office, drive in the car.
Okay, all
This
right.
is a good
Well,
example of that.
You know, the thing is that just because something happens doesn't mean you have to go with it. Like, for instance, I know what she's talking about. There was a day I was on my way to the office, and there was a bunch of stuff happening, something I had to straighten out, and something that was a mess, and something else that was wrong. And I was getting all broiled up in it, and what do I do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was about to start the car, and I said, stop, just stop it. And I stopped the car, and I said, I do not want to get on the road in this, like this, feeling like this, with these thoughts. So I thought, all right, what is it I want? And I took a couple of breaths and I said, all right, all is well, everything is fine. Car, I love you. You're one of my dearest friends. We're going to have a good drive to the office together. It'll be easy and effortless. I bless you with love. I send love to every single driver on the road. I want to be surrounded by love. I know it'll be an easy drive, and when I get there, everything will solve itself so quickly. And I opened my eyes and I said, okay, now I can drive. And I started the car and I turned on the radio and I had this crescendo of beautiful, beautiful music came out. And I said, I'm doing the right thing. I knew it. I could feel the music was just supporting me. And I had an easy drive to the office. I got there. I opened the door. The first thing somebody said was, I love you. And then I went to my desk. Somebody had put an orchid on my desk. And then I discovered that what I thought was a problem was all solved. I didn't even have to go to the meeting. And I said, that's the way to do it. So what I'm saying is that you can stop it. Just stop whatever the trend is and talk about what you would like to happen. How would you like it? I wanted to have an easy, simple drive to the office. You know, I wanted to be comfortable. And then I set up what I wanted. And I think if you start to do that, instead of going into the problem, it'll be very helpful. You'll have to practice a few times, but it really helps to do this.
What she's
What more do you
describing,
want to say?
and I want you to breathe and take this in, instead of thinking about what you want to ask next. Take this in, okay? I know that look. I've used it many times myself. What she's talking about, we affectionately call it breaking the spell. You see, we have a tendency in our world today, I wouldn't even say the States where I often teach, but in our world, we are addicted to drama. We're addicted to adrenaline. Adrenaline gets raised when we get pulled into drama. And when Louise first said, you don't have to go with it, that's a very important statement, because somebody can say something negative to you, and most of us will grab a hold and go for the ride. And before you know it, whatever they said is nothing compared to what we're now saying to ourselves. So it's about breaking the spell. It's about saying, wait a minute. I'm just going to turn my attention away from what this person just said. Or I'm going to turn my attention away from that experience I just had. Instead, you know, what Louise is talking about is the most profound act of self-care of all, and that's caring for our thoughts. So Randy, here's a whole different way of looking at it. The next time something happens that starts to bring you down, see it as a wonderful gift. Because now, this gift is giving you an opportunity to practice breaking the spell so that you can get back on the right road, surrounding yourself with love, and showing up in a new place filled with feelings that reflect how you want to feel instead of how life is going to dictate you feel. You are the creator of your experience. It's just that too many of us get caught up in everybody else's drama and story, and before you know it, you're defining my internal experience instead of me. You see?
Isn't it a way of escaping reality also, actually, when there's something going on, going wrong, and I do that, okay, all is well, all is well. Isn't it a way of escaping reality? I mean, I'm not living reality, I'm just saying all is well,
Okay,
I'm not
so
handling with it.
yes, is affirming all is well in the face of a crisis a form of denial and escaping reality? Here's what I would say about that. All is well is always a great thing to affirm of what's going on. And I sometimes will have people call my radio show who will say, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent, I don't have money for food, and I've been sitting in the middle of my flat for the last 60 days affirming abundance, but nothing is happening. That's denial, right? It's wonderful to affirm abundance, but it's when we marry affirmations with actions that we get evidence that life loves us. So if somebody says something negative to me, first of all, I always know it's about them. It's always about us when we're doing something like that. But depending on what it is, I might step back. I'm first going to tell myself, all is well, Cheryl, I love you. Doesn't matter what other people say, I'm right here with you. But depending on the circumstance, I may step back later and say, was there any truth to that that I need to learn from? Maybe, maybe not. And then is there a different way that I need to act as a result of that truth? Like, is there a lesson to be learned? But we're not saying, walk through hell affirming that all, we are saying affirm all is well, but get yourself out of hell at the same time. You see?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You're welcome,
Very
dear.
welcome, yes.
Hello, Cheryl and Louise. My name's Devika. There's two main things I wanted to ask. One is, I find a lot of my patients and myself, from personal experience as well, so focused up here and not on what's going on. If you have any tips on how to make that transition from up there to actually action.
Okay, great. So she's a psychiatrist who's new to this work, which just really excites me. Doesn't it excite you? Happy. And how do you get patients to stop living up here and start living down here? The first most important answer is, where do you live?
Probably up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we draw to us what we reflect out into the world, right?
So the question really is, how do you get it from the head to the heart?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And any tips for that?
Yes. Yes. I remember one of the very first therapists I worked with years ago who was such a love and such an angel in my life. I remember sitting in her office talking with her, and she said to me one day, Cheryl, you do a lovely job of reporting on your life. You just have a problem feeling it. And it stayed with me. I still get chills when I think about that because it was so true. And so there's a couple of things you can do. You can take 3 or 4 of the closest people in your life and tell them that you've decided to get a PhD in feeling and you would like their help. So that when you get together with them, ask them to please ask you at some point when it's appropriate, tell me, my dear, how are you feeling? And when they do that, ask them to put their hand on their heart. Tell me, how are you feeling? Okay? So that you start to surround yourself with loving people who actually want to listen to you talk about how you feel. Writing in a journal and deciding that usually when we write in a journal, the first page is what we're thinking. The second to third page, like Julia Cameron talked about in The Artist's Way, where she talked about doing morning pages. When we get to the second or third page, we drop down into the body and we start communicating how we feel. That's another wonderful thing that you can do. And then every now and then throughout the day, do you have an alarm on your watch, or do you have a mobile?
Yeah.
Yes, with an alarm. Set the alarm for every 2 or 3 hours, and when the alarm goes off, I just want you to stop wherever you are, unless of course you're in the middle of a conversation with a patient.
Be setting a good example.
Yes, put your hand on your heart and say to yourself, how am I feeling right now? How are you feeling? And you can use the mirror to do that.
I love you. I love you. It's
Yes.
safe to feel.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's
thank
safe
you.
to feel.
yeah.
Just one other thing I wanted to ask was, I'm a bit overwhelmed by all of the material over there. What would you recommend if I was to recommend one thing to patients for self-esteem or loving themselves?
find out where we got these, you know?
Yeah.
And have like 3 dozen in your office.
That's a great idea.
It's small, it's little, it goes in the pocket, and every time they see it, they'll think of you, and show them how to use it. It'll be good for you, it'll work wonders for them.
Yes.
And you know, and then when they come back the next week, how do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. And we never know. We might have mirrors prescribed on the NHS soon. Hopefully. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And before we take this next question, let me just ask, how many of you in the room are learning something about yourself from these questions? Raise your hands. Yes. See? Beautiful.
My name is Elfie, and first of all, I want to say to Louise, I am your biggest fan, Louise. We share the same star sign, we share the same profession, and we share a sense of beauty. And also, I share some other things with you, but I wanted to know what advice you can give on people with cancer.
On what?
Cancer, people who suffer from cancer.
Yes. So
On
is the
healing
question,
cancer, is that the question?
Yes, what advice do you have if someone suffers from cancer?
what advice do you have
Yep.
if someone suffers from cancer?
All right, well, first of all, you have to make a decision on how you're going to have it treated from the outside. And, you know, I would say, whatever you're doing, add a really good nutritional person, a really good nutritionist who can have you eating foods that will make sure that whatever treatment you're having is helping your body. And remember, cancer feeds on sugar. Cancer feeds on sugar. If anybody has cancer, you have to get every single iota of sugar out of your body because that's how it grows. You can starve cancer cells by taking away all sugar. Okay. Cancer, first of all, where is it? And 2, cancer also comes a lot, the emotional part is resentment. Deeply held, long-term resentment. When I had my cancer, it was in the vaginal area. I'd been raped many times as a child, wherever that resentment and stuff go. And it's a matter of forgiving yourself. You know, I forgive myself for allowing my anger and resentment to harm my body. I forgive myself for this. Forgive people you need to forgive, and the one you need to forgive is the one you don't want to forgive at all. Those are enormous things. But when you have a problem, we're going to do tomorrow afternoon, we're going to do a fantastic forgiveness exercise, which may give you some insights. But forgiving the people who you feel may have harmed you is very important. It doesn't mean you condone their behavior, but you're willing to let yourself out of the prison you are stuck in. And love yourself.
Yeah.
Those things are so important.
Yeah. Okay.
It was interesting when we first started working on the book together, I talked to Louise about her life, and many people have read You Can Heal Your Life and her story of healing her cancer. And what I loved about her story when we spoke about it is that it truly was a holistic approach to healing. So it was the nutritional piece, which you said at that time you knew nothing about nutrition. You know, still to this day, we still have such a blind link between the power of nutrition to heal the body. It's what you fuel yourself with. She studied nutrition. The other thing that was interesting that you said was that you chose to tell very few people about it because she didn't want to be influenced by other people's stuff, which I think is a really important.
And I had done enough work on myself at the time that I knew I was giving myself an opportunity to practice on myself what I was teaching others.
Yes.
So she looked at the nutritional piece, she looked at the medical piece, she looked at the emotional healing piece, and I loved what you said about how, you know, she went back to her parents and gathered as much information as she could about her parents' lives so that she could understand why what happened happened and how it allowed her to begin to forgive her parents by understanding that they didn't have it so easy either. So there was the emotional healing work piece of it that was very important. And then I love the little story you tell about how somebody had told you that reflexology.
Oh, well, I gathered things to me. You know, I was willing to do what I needed to do. And I remember somebody telling me that reflexology was wonderful. And I thought, oh, how do I find a reflexologist? I went to a meeting. I always sat in the front row. That day, I walked in and I sat in the back row. And I didn't know why. And 5 minutes later, a man came and sat next to me. It was early and the meeting wasn't starting yet. We started to talk. He's a reflexologist.
And he goes to people's homes.
Yes. And he came to me 3 times a week. And at first, when he started working on my feet, it was like I had pieces of glass in them. But no, that wasn't what healed me, but it was part of. I was gathering, I was determined to do this. Life brought me this, life brought me this, brought me this, brought me this.
Yes.
And together, it all worked together. But that's why you need more than just one thing. You can't just say, oh, I'm cured of cancer. You know, that isn't going to do it. Or I want to be, or I believe I can be. That can be part of it, but you need a holistic approach.
That is very good advice. Thank you.
And
Yes,
the
because this is what I'm
reflexologist
doing.
piece, here's what's important about that story, because Louise says this all the time. You know, we're talking about focusing your thoughts in such a way that gives you a state of mind that allows you to feel good. When you focus your thoughts in the right direction, you begin to draw to you the people, the resources, the experiences you need, especially when you're dealing with a health crisis or some kind of a crisis. So she knew someone said something about reflexology. She was open-minded enough to say, maybe that's something I'll look into. Puts herself in a state of mind. I also love what you say. Could you just say what you say about incurable?
Oh, yes. Well, I've learned that, you know, the word incurable means that the medical profession has not figured out how to cure it yet, or the pharmaceutical company has not figured out yet. So we need to go within and
Yes.
find the answer.
So she put herself in a state of mind that actually began to draw to her the resources she needed to heal. So you can do the same thing.
I am doing the same thing.
Beautiful. And you can pay attention to be open-minded, what shows up in your life. You can welcome someone in and then see how it feels. See if that healing work is an important piece of the whole healing puzzle.
Where is
Yes.
the cancer?
Pardon?
Where is the cancer?
Yeah, my right breast.
Okay. All right. Who are you not nourishing? Why are you nourishing the world and not nourishing you?
I am now nourishing me. But
You are now.
You know, yes.
You've begun.
Beautiful.
You see?
But I've done a lot of forgiving work. I'm doing exactly like you say. I'm very open-minded. I've taken control of it myself because I know that the conventional therapy cannot work for me. Maybe for others it doesn't work for me. But I draw the right things into my life. Like you said, there have to be many things. And I just wanted to hear from you. That's why I came. What advice do you have? But I feel I am on the right track. I feel very strongly that I'm doing the right thing.
Every hand that touches my body is a healing hand.
Yes.
Very important affirmation.
And
Every hand that touches my body and is a healing hand. The doctors or the therapists or whoever are amazed at how fast my body heals.
yes.
And I love myself.
Yes, I do.
And I come first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're beautiful. You're really beautiful.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I remember Chris Northrup saying, she would always say, you know, wake up in the morning and say, love you, girls.
Okay, girls, you're safe with me.
Yeah, you're safe with me.
You know, I'm sure this is happening here too, but when I was doing the hayride with the boys that had AIDS, you know, we would all talk openly about things, and then at the end, there would be all sorts of little clusters around a person who had spoken, with people who had advice to give them, or tips to give them, or just, et cetera. And, you know, we want to help heal each other. We want to help each other. And this is a wonderful place to do this. If you have anything that can help anybody that you hear speak with a problem, share it. Share it. They don't have to take your advice, but share it.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to go further on the question of Judy before, the toxic mother, but imagine you have gone through all the phases, like you've been sad and mad and acceptance at the end. What happens if, for example, like you get pregnant, you know there's gonna be a baby, they're gonna have a granddaughter or a grandson.
Yes.
What do you do in that case? Because you still have contact with your parents, you're still trying sometimes to give it a rest and sometimes to accept it, and you go through this every time again. But you've found your peace, but what happens?
Well, if you're talking about acceptance, meaning I can go to see my mother and I can tolerate her inappropriate behavior, I would say, I would invite you to raise your level of self-care to the point where inappropriate behavior becomes intolerable.
Okay.
And if it were intolerable for you, it needs to be intolerable for your children.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Because my question was actually, it's kind of hard for me to say it in English since
Yes,
it's
you're
not my
doing a
native
wonderful
name.
job.
Thank you.
You're doing a wonderful job.
But the thing is, like, it's the same with, for example, third parties. Like, if I see somebody in the same situation as myself, with a parent who's acting like that,
Yes.
I feel this rage coming up.
Of course you do, because it's the rage that you probably haven't been able to fully express about the way you've been treated. Yes. And it belongs with you dealing with it. It doesn't belong being expressed in that situation. I remember one time I was driving by a museum in Boston, Massachusetts, near where I live. And I drove by a mother who had a 3-year-old child, and she was dragging the child, like clearly very angry with her, and dragging, practically pulling the child, and I lost it. I pulled the car over, I got out of the car, and like a raging maniac, I went for the mother, which was not a good thing to do. It just wasn't. But the reactive part of me, that, you know, the lioness part of me, saw red. And I just went for it. And I remember telling the story to a friend of mine who was a mother, a very evolved mother, about a week later, and she said to me, she taught me something important. She said, the next time something like that happens, what you need to do is calmly get out of the car, walk up to the mother and say to her, what do you need? How can I support you? Which is really a brilliant idea. But what that showed me, my reaction showed me I had some work to do. Because it was inappropriate for me. I mean, yes, it was inappropriate for her, but you know, I can't be trying to save the world. With that kind of rage, it's not going to do anybody any good.
But that was actually the thing. So I've been, for many years now, I've been going through this process and trying different therapies and stuff like that. So I became much more aware. I've totally grown as a person. I'm very
Yes.
positive and happy somebody. But what if it is like my mother, for example, she didn't change at all.
Right.
One bit.
Right.
So the thing practically, what am I going to do if there's a little one?
Do you have little ones?
I'm planning to have next year,
Okay.
if I'm fortunate. But for example, my sister, she's pregnant now. She's
Yes.
gone through the same process as me.
Yes.
She's going to have her baby in March, and we talk to her phone regularly.
Yes,
and
so
she
this-
told me I'm so emotional right now towards our mother. Everything she says,
Yes.
I'm feeling this rage. And I'm not planning to leave my child alone with our mother.
Which is smart.
Yeah, but at the same time, very painful.
Well,
I
because,
think.
yes, this is exactly right.
Yeah,
this is-
I know.
this
I
is-
feel the guilt
Yes,
when you said it before.
I know.
feel the guilt.
This is a
coming
long
up.
conversation, but here's what I'm going to
I'm
say.
sorry.
There is nothing that will bring up a woman's unhealed child quicker than having a child. When you have a child, it's suddenly as though you can see yourself in a whole new way. And when you see yourself in that child, without doing healing work, by the way, it is not good for the child. When you see yourself in that child, all of your own little girl's pain and rage comes up. So it's a big This is another example of having good therapy in place. I'm talking about weekly with somebody who's very good at what they do. You can go stand over there with the other woman if you want at the break so that people could speak to you, because now more than ever, in order to prepare for your child, you want to deal with this issue. We all do. If we have that kind of unresolved stuff, we need to turn to someone safe to work it through with so we can be free. And being free may mean that you don't see your mother, that your child doesn't see your mother, and that you learn to be with the guilt so that it can then dissipate and go away. That can happen.
So that's also a process. The
It is
learning,
absolutely
the
a
guilt,
process.
like the acceptance of the guilt.
I tell women especially, chances are if you're taking good care of yourself and you're feeling guilty, I say good. Guilt is good. It tells you, it's a sign you're on the right track. You put your arm around the guilt, you say, oh, there you are. You know, you don't feel so comfortable, but I'll stay with you and do what I'm doing so that I can move through it and get to the other side where I now feel like very much, Louise is such a wonderful example. I watch her take care of herself, and she's not run by guilt in that way, that I can tell.
Yeah.
But it's taken a while to get to that point. You can't think your way there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Or that's the opportunity. Your way there, and heal your way there.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
That was good. Was that good? Yes, helpful, right? We wanted to talk a little bit about using affirmations throughout the day in a more intentional way. And really beginning, you mentioned something earlier, Louise, about becoming aware. You know, that the first step is really becoming aware of the kinds of regular thoughts we have that are associated with daily habits.
But there's also a question here that's very good. What time of day do you tend to be most negative with yourself? Everybody's mouthing something.
Wow,
Write
that
it
was
down.
quick.
What time of day do you tend to be most negative with yourself? Yes. Why don't you just make a note of that so that
Yes.
you can do something about that later?
It's very interesting, the people who have an immediate answer.
Yes.
Because-
well, no, we do know, you know.
Yes.
Either early morning or end of the day. A lot of people get it sort of just before they come home.
Yes. And it would be interesting to look at what's going on in your life at that time that automatically has you know, for some of you, that that's the time when you're most negative during the day. Because this is the kind of thing we're talking about. We're talking about what are the daily habits. You know, like I know, I love when we were talking about what's the first thing you say to yourself when you wake up. And do you remember what you said to me in the very beginning?
Yes, well, I can remember a time when I used to wake up in the morning and say, oh, shit. That really started my day.
And then what kind of day would you have?
A shitty day, the whole day.
All day. Yeah.
Now I don't, I do it very differently. But I think a lot of us have a habit of starting the day with not an affirmative thing. You used to hide from the clock.
Oh, I remember we were sitting in the room and Louise was saying, you know, some people start their day with oh shit. And I remembered instantly, I went back to the number of years where I started my day hitting the snooze button, wanting to beat up the alarm clock because I just didn't want the day to start at all. I thought, oh, another miserable day. Snooze. Snooze.
I don't want to go to work. I don't want to get up. I don't.
Yeah. How many people use the snooze button? Is that what you call it here? The snooze button, oh good. Yes. So how you start your day influences the rest of the day. And when Louise told me that she starts her day by snuggling into the bed and then saying, thank you to the bed, thank you for a good night's sleep, I thought, there's a step I could try.
And you did.
And I did. I'm telling you people, you know, I didn't even tell you, Louise, I was on Facebook. We both have Facebook pages, and I check both of them, and I write back to people. But I cannot tell you how many people, just from when we were in New York, how many people have been thanking their beds in the morning. That one step alone can really transform your whole day.
It might even get you to buy a new pillow.
Yes, because If you wake up in a bed that's not comfortable, you'll find it difficult to thank it. And then that will just simply inform what needs to change as a result. And that's what I did. So for about a week, I would wake up, I would thank my bed, and then I realized, you know, I don't really like my bed. It's not comfortable enough. And we had gotten a new mattress, and the mattress was too firm for me. My husband likes firm, I liked a little softer. So I went out and I bought myself like a
feather bed.
like a feather bed to put
On your side.
on my side. And then I would wake up in the morning and I really would cuddle into the bed and I would say, thank you for a good night's sleep.
No wonder Poupon sleeps with you. You
I
have
know.
the feather bed.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So what's the first thing you say? What do you say when you go to your closet to get clothes for the day?
Oh, I have nothing to wear. That will determine that the next time you go shopping, you will pick out something inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Because you've already set it up, that in your closet you have nothing to wear.
And then you go shopping, and consciously or unconsciously, you make yourself right. Because our thoughts are the rules we begin to live by. What do you say when you look in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth? Or combing your hair? Or washing your face? What do you say when you're taking a bath? Or when you're taking a shower? As Louise and I began to talk about this, I became sometimes painfully aware of the thoughts that were associated with the daily habits that I engaged in. But the beauty of awareness is it's 50% of growth. When you become aware, it's really hard to keep doing the same thing that doesn't serve you once you see it. Go ahead, was there something in there you wanted
No,
to?
I was just thinking, you know, another thing I have that I do that starts the day, I have a bar in the doorway to my bathroom, a nice strong iron bar, and I reach up and I hang on that thing, bring my knees up to my chin 3 times, and then I stretch and I stretch, and it feels wonderful. It's just wonderful to have that really good stretch. You know, just pull these muscles and pull these muscles and just stretch and get this gut going. Yes. See? 85 and very alive. Yes. It's the little things you do for yourself that keep you young.
Yes. Tell people the affirmation you have across from your toilet.
Oh,
I'm letting you into Louise's loo now.
well, first of all, I have a picture right across from the toilet, and it's a painting I did of oil pencils that I did long ago about fruit, and I just like it. It isn't the greatest picture, but it gives me pleasure. So it's the first thing I see, and then right under it, it says, I bless and prosper everyone in my life, and everyone in my life blesses and prospers me. And to me, that's just a nice way to start the day. I see that every morning, and many times during the day. But it sort of wakes me up. Oh yes, I'm blessing and prospering, and they're blessing and prospering.
Yes.
So now, of course, she has this wonderful trick that I had not done before, but she uses dry erase markers, and she marks up the windows and the mirrors and everything in the house. She has these marvelous
It's all because of
messages.
you.
I know.
Yeah.
And not only that, but in their house, they have affirmations. You
Yes.
and Michael did this. They did them in the archways of the house.
Yes.
For instance, what are the
Yes.
affirmations?
So we have this long hallway, and there are 3 arches. And Michael, one morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard him yelling. He was not speaking affirmations. I heard him cussing at himself. But when I came down the next morning, he had put these affirmations like, everything that's happening supports my highest good.
That's in the house.
In the house. There's this great website, it's called Wall Words. And he got these words, and he literally put this big piece of paper up, sketched out the arch, sent it to them, and they created this arch of an affirmation. But Louise is right. Across from my toilet, I have a big window that sits above a bathtub. and I took dry eraser markers, and I have written on there, I love you, Cheryl, I really, really love you. And so it looks like it's written in the sky because it's on the window, and there's all sky behind it. It looks like a plane came by and wrote, I love you, Cheryl, I really love you. So I also take a picture of that, and I posted it on Facebook, and people said, how did you get a skywriter to write an affirmation? But yes, I put them all around the house. I'm a big believer. I'm a very visual person.
Tell them what you have in your shower.
Oh, I'm showered with good thoughts all day long.
And tell them why you did that.
And the reason I did that, yes, and the reason I did that was because when Louise first said, we must become aware of the thoughts we link to daily actions, I started to become aware. And I would take a shower, and I noticed that my whole time in the shower was focused on the work I had to do, the invitations I had to decline that I felt bad about, the emails I needed to respond to. By the time I was at the end of the shower, I was miserable and feeling a sense of despair about having to go into work. And I thought, my goodness, this is what I've been doing to myself. So to remember, I created a laminated sign that said, I am showered with good thoughts all day long. I took a daily action that was linked to negative thoughts, gave myself a visual reminder, and now I love taking showers. And I feel so good all shower long.
These are the affirmations that I suggested for showers. I love my body and my body loves me. It's such a pleasure to take a shower. The water feels so good. And I'm grateful for the people who designed and built this shower so that I could enjoy it. My life is so blessed. See? You can take almost any area of the house, any activity that you're doing, and start it into positive stuff. You know, using the bathroom. Anybody constipated? I easily release all that my body no longer needs.
Wait, I gotta back up. Is anybody constipated?
Well, everybody is.
Well, I'm glad no one raised their hands.
They're scared.
I would be too.
No, they think I'll bring them the mirror.
I love my colon. I really, really love my colon. Go ahead.
Okay, I easily release all that my body no longer needs. There is perfect intake, assimilation, and elimination, all in divine right order. That's a good thing to have as a permanent affirmation in your life. Whenever you think of your tummy or your bowels, that's it. Intake, assimilation, and elimination, all in perfect divine right order.
There are some people doing this right now.
Well, it's in the book. But our body was created to be perfect intake, elimination. No, assimilation and elimination, yes. Yes, and then getting dressed. I love my closet. I love my closet, and it's so easy for me to get dressed. I always pick the best thing to wear, and I'm comfortable in my clothing. This is a really good affirmation to have. I am comfortable in my clothing, because so many people aren't. They're never comfortable in their clothing.
It's true.
You know? And I trust my inner wisdom to pick the right outfit for me. In the kitchen. You know, when you go in the kitchen, what's the first thing you say in the morning when you go to the kitchen? Do you say anything? Where's the coffee? Okay, hello kitchen, you're my nourishment center and I appreciate you. Can you imagine how your kitchen would react if that's the way you started every day? It wouldn't say, oh God, there they come. They're going to make a mess of me, and then they'll curse at me because I get dirty. You and all your appliances help me so much in easily preparing delicious, nutritious meals. There's such an abundance of food, of good, healthy food in my fridge. I can easily make a delicious, nutritious meal, and you help me to be cheerful, and I love you, kitchen. You ever think of your kitchen like that? But you can. You can make all sorts of wonder during meals. Here's a whole bunch of things for meals. I'm so grateful to have this wonderful food. I bless this meal or this food with love. I love selecting foods that are nutritious and delicious. I think food has to taste good. You know, healthy is one thing, but it's got to taste good or you're not going to eat it. The whole family is enjoying this meal. Meal time is laughter time, and laughter is good for the digestion. Planning healthy meals is a joy. My body loves the way I choose the perfect foods for my family. We are all now nourished in preparation for the day before us. In this house, our meals are harmonious. We get together with great joy and great love. Meal times are happy times, and the kids love to try new foods. My body heals and strengthens with every bite I take. And then also, you know, you could put some affirmation cards in a bowl on the table. Let the kids pick the affirmations for the day. Whatever you want to start talking about the way you want it to have it, you know? And I think meal times need to be happy times, joyous times, times where you lovingly exchange information, and you enjoy the food, and you support each other. It's very quiet in here.
It's good. They're listening to you. You're captivating.
So think about how you would like to change, say, the mealtime experience. How could you make it better? How could you make it a more loving, joyous experience for everybody in the family? What is it, the marvelous letter we got just the other day from somebody who read the book about the little boy and
Yes.
going to bed?
Yes. Yes, the little boy in bath time. Oh, I was so
Yes.
happy. Weren't you so happy when you read that?
When you sent that to me.
We
it
got
was
an
lovely.
email from, an email came in from a woman who had seen us speak and had bought the book and had read it. And she had a little boy who always acted up at bath time.
Bedtime, bath time.
Yes, didn't want to go to bed, didn't want to take a bath. And so she started to affirm that bath time was a fun time and that everybody enjoyed it. And she kept affirming it and affirming it, and she made it a fun time.
But she and her husband both said to the little boy how much they appreciated how well he cooperated with bath time and bedtime. They were so proud of him.
Yes.
And the next thing she knew, he was coming along saying, "Is it bath time yet?
Yes, he was.
Can we do bath time?"
So yes, they practically applied what we were talking about. First of all, I was so happy for her that her husband was completely on board with this. It's great when both parents are on board. And the first step was they changed the way they approached bath time. They expected it to be just a horrible experience. They expected it to be stressful. So they said, first she said, I needed to change my own thinking by affirming that bath time is a fun time for all. And then she looked at what kind of actions can we take to make it fun. She got her husband on board. The both of them kept affirming it. And like you said, appreciating, letting their little boy know how much they appreciated his participation instead of scolding him. And then she said in the email, he came to us and said, is it bath time yet? And my husband and I looked at each other and high-fived each other and said, let's move on to the next one. They're gonna transform their whole family experience by taking these simple little steps.
And just approaching it slightly differently.
Yes.
Instead of screaming and yelling and dragging the kid, suddenly they've turned it around so the kid is eagerly saying, can we do this?
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
why don't you just share that little about your niece?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
the story.
Just that
Come
little
up to the
story about
microphone
your
and tell the
niece, 'cause
story.
it's
This is
a
a great
sweet one.
story, too. Good thinking, Lulu.
Good
Yes.
story.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
My niece, Isabel, who was 8 at the time, it was impossible to wake her up in the morning. She was grumpy, cranky, and my sister was having a terrible time having to wake her up for school. So we said, what's it going to take for you to be a morning person? She came up with the idea of $77. But I will say
this is why it's fun to be an auntie, because you get to do these kinds of things. So I said, okay, I will give you $77 if from this moment forward, every morning when your alarm goes off, you jump out of bed with a smile on your face, happy to greet the day, you get dressed, you go straight downstairs to the kitchen ready for breakfast and ready for school, fully dressed, ready to go, ready to eat, and ready to go to school. And it worked the next day. And it's been almost 2 years. And it worked. And I haven't even paid her.
But the whole household, the whole morning
And
changed.
the whole household changed. Now my sister wasn't like in this whole, in this whole drama of, I've got to get the kids up and get them dressed and get them going and blah, blah, blah. It was like immediate, and it changed changed the whole energy of the morning in the house.
And you originally, there was like a time frame. You said, okay, I'll give you 30 days, right?
I think I'd said like when the next visit I come, if you've been able to maintain it until the next visit I come, I'll pay you. And the money really became it's been almost 2 years. The money's never come up again.
It's such a great example. And kids love affirmations. They
And love
fun
mirror
for them.
work. They love mirror work.
They do. And if we could get them early, I mean, really think about it. How would your life have been different if your parents had been doing mirror work with you from a very, very young age, or taught you affirmations? I love it too, because I'm thinking of all the practical ways that we use affirmations. It's great to buy dry eraser markers for kids, introduce them to affirmations, and allow them to write on their own windows or mirrors in their rooms. I mean, we've had parents say, I remember Joanne saying that she learned a lot about her children and what was going on for them by what they affirmed on the mirrors and windows in their rooms. And it wipes off so easily. It's not dangerous to walls or anything like that. So, as far as I know, make sure you check the markers. Well, mirrors and glass, windows and glass, yes. Louise, I know in your car, remember when I got in your car, you had a little yellow sticky note that said,
Smile in your liver. What does that mean?
that's what I
What
did.
does that mean?
That's
does that
what I
mean?
did, yeah.
Well, the liver is the seat of anger. So my affirmation is to put a smile in your liver every day.
And I got in the car and I looked at it and I said, smile in your liver? And she explained
Well,
that
I
to
knew
me.
what it meant.
Yes, right. And it was her car, obviously. But I decided to see like a bright yellow smiley face on my liver ever since. Because the liver happens to be a very important organ,
Yes.
along with many others. But these are just fun and creative ways. I know. That was Nancy purely for your enjoyment. Every now and then I say something that just makes her laugh like crazy. And I've reached my quota for today.
I think it's time for a potty break.
Yeah, we're going to do a potty break. And then when we come back, so you can be thinking about this during the break, when we come back, we want you to just write down 1 or 2 daily habits that you know need a new affirmation associated with it. And the trick to that, to discovering which one, is the time when Louise said, when are you most negative? One of them needs to be that time you chose, because that's when you're going to want a new affirmation.
Okay.
So when we went to the break, we asked you to think about the times of the day that need a new affirmation, right? A daily habit or a couple of daily habits where you've associated negative thoughts with that need to be turned around. So we want you to just write down 2 times during the day where you know you need a new affirmation.
Or a little help.
Yes.
Or comfort. Or to have some more comforting thoughts.
Yes. It's based on the conversation we had about just noticing, what are you thinking about when you wake up, or when you go to your closet, or when you're taking a bath? What do
And
you think?
when you have that low time in the day, what are you thinking then?
Yes.
And how can we change that?
I love one time you said to me, what are you thinking when you walk out the door in the morning and you shut the door? What are you thinking when you shut the door to the house to leave? Really, because we do that every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I know when you asked me that question, I was thinking, okay, do I have everything with me? Where am I going? Have I moved everything out of the way so my cat doesn't get into it? Or, I'm so focused on
Things that could go wrong.
things that could go wrong, exactly. Instead of focusing on what I want to go right based on where I'm headed.
I always say goodbye, house. I'll see you later. Have a good time. Take care of things. I'll be back. I do that with my luggage in airports too. I say, have a wonderful trip. I'll see you in Arizona, or I'll see you in New York. Yes,
All right,
always.
I'm writing that down.
Yes, you know, and the porters, they love it. They laugh. They think it's so silly. But I've put good affirmations into my luggage, so it arrives in good shape where I want it to be. And I say, you can come off the plane first if you like. Sometimes it works. Yeah.
I love that. I'm now going to start doing that.
Yes, talk to your luggage.
Talk to my luggage. Okay, so what we'd like you to do is to just pair up with somebody, preferably if you can, someone you don't know, because it's always lovely to meet new people, and just share with each other the 2 times during the day where you know you need a new affirmation. And you might even chat about what affirmation you could use during that time.
Yeah, what is it you want to accomplish?
Yes. All right, everybody, let's come together.
Oh,
You see how-
boy, that was energy.
Yes.
That was some good energy.
Okay, so what we'd like to do is we'd like to have just a few people come up to give an example, because we want to hear, so we want someone who has an example of a time of day that you know you need to change your thinking and a new affirmation you're going to use. Because what Louise and I are going to do is maybe tweak the affirmation with you a little bit if it needs it. If not, that's okay. It might be that you just have a great affirmation that we can all borrow. So let's just have 5 people. Five people come up. Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. These 5 coming up. Yes.
We got 2 men there. Let's
Yay
let
for
the
the
men
men.
come in. I mean, we have so few. We've got to have 1 in each group.
Yay for the men.
Yay, 2 men, 2 men.
We love it. Okay, so tell us first the time of day.
Okay, the time of day is when I just get home from work.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I usually get home, I feel really tired and there's an energy drop, you know, and I'm feeling a bit, well, I want everybody to be lovely to me and keep out of my way and, you know, just let me get some food and I don't want anybody near me. So,
And do you live with people?
yes. So the affirmation is, when I open the door to my home, I'm filled with energy, love, and vitality.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yes,
Beautiful.
that's a good one. When I open the door to my home, I'm filled with energy, love, and vitality.
Hello, Cheryl, Louise. My name is John. We met earlier at the signings. I find, like this other lady said, I find that my energy levels and my mood dips when it's around about 5 o'clock in the evening. I work day shifts, and it's not always after a long, hard shift, as some people have said. It can be actually just a normal day where I haven't done so much, but I find my mood dips and my energy level drops. And when my girlfriend, it's her birthday today, by the way, she's over there, Maria.
Happy birthday, Maria.
Yes. Happy birthday.
And when Maria comes home, I'm kind of hoping that she's in a good mood, so she'll lift me up. And I don't want to do this anymore. I would like to have another approach. And
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you have sugar in the afternoon?
yes,
Yeah. Could you try a week with no sugar in the afternoon?
I'll try anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Just see if that doesn't help.
A
And
week
we'll
with,
give you an affirmation too.
a week with no sugar in the afternoon.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
Okay. Okay, I can do that.
This is why this is important. I think you bring up a really great point. There's a couple of things that happen. If we find that there's, like a lot of people will say, oh, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a lull. Now, that's been something that's actually, we've been trained into by the media. It would be very interesting to look at where that began. It's probably some food company trying to convince you need a certain something around 3 o'clock.
Especially with sugar.
Yes, yes. So when we find that there is a certain time during the day where our mood tends to go down, it's important to look at things like, what am I eating? What am I doing? You know, am I happy in my life at that time? What does that time signify? For some people, it means they're coming home to someone they don't quite get along with. Or for others, it means they're coming home to someone that they feel like they can't live up to, as examples.
Or a lonely house.
Or a lonely house, exactly. I remember before I was married, Friday afternoons were so hard for me because the weekend was looming and I just felt really alone. And then what happens is this. When we combine strong emotional feelings with a particular thought pattern, we give it a lot of power. And before you know it, even if we could have been in a good mood at 5 o'clock, we've trained ourselves to go into that low mood at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
So the affirmations are retraining you to look at it differently. And at the same time, what Louise says is so important, because if you don't address the nutritional piece or look at what's going on in your life, then chances are you're not going to be able to stay with the affirmation. So if you eliminate sugar for the week before that period, and you combine it with an affirmation, and I love how aware you are that your girlfriend shouldn't be your antidepressant.
No.
That's really beautiful that you're aware of that, because you give your power away, and she's not going to want that. If she's not miserable now, she will be at some point.
It's okay to do it once in a while, but not all the time.
Absolutely.
Then it gets boring.
I find that she supports me more than I support her. I am there for her, of course, but not as often as she's there for
Well,
me.
then you know what? Here's a little side coaching for you. Here's what I want you to do, along with eliminating the sugar, and this is a common situation with men. It's a generalization, I know, so it's not all men. Please hear me. We've been raised differently. Women are raised to give, and men have been raised to receive. It doesn't mean they receive well, but they receive more easily than a lot of women. Here's what I do. Along with eliminating the sugar and coming up with an affirmation, just for 1 week, I would like you to come home with the intention of doing something for Maria. So, in other words, just, let's say you're beginning to end your day at 4 o'clock. On the ride home, I want you to say to you, what could I do for Maria today when I get home that would make her feel loved?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be I bring her a flower. It could be that I walk through the door and hug her and tell her I love her. It could be that, if you really want to make a woman happy, walk through the door and say to her, what could I do to support you right now in the next 5 minutes?
That's nice.
She'll feel loved, and you'll probably have more sex in your relationship as a result.
Yeah.
Because
very
just
much.
about every woman I know. Yes, we need to be practical here.
That cannot hurt.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, sometimes one of the things that can really cure that low mood, especially when someone is brave enough and self-aware enough like you are to say, I think she does more for me. I'm there for her, but she does more for me than I do for her. The fact that you recognize that means you are now going to train yourself to be a more generous spirit. Because when we start to give in that way, it just returns to us tenfold. And nothing will lift your mood better than really being there, especially for someone you love.
Okay.
So let's hear the affirmation.
I wrote, my energy will radiate and lift those around me.
My energy will radiate
And lift those around
and
me.
lift those. My energy will
Yes,
radiate
yes,
and lift
yes,
those around me.
That's a great affirmation.
That's a beautiful one, too.
You think that'll go?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
and,
do.
the energy I give returns to me multiplied.
Multiplied, yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay, I
you're
can
giving
use this.
out energy and you're getting back more energy.
Yeah, I can maybe do this on my drive home.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
And think about, what can I do for Maria when I get home? And you might even ask her, which I think is important in relationships. You could say to her on the ride home tonight, could you do me a favor and just make me a list of 10 little things I could do for you that would make you feel loved? Because then you get to surprise her. I know there's some other women over. Are you giving your husband that assignment too now? No, but take notes, please. No, but that would be a lovely thing to do, to check with her as well.
Okay,
All
thank you
right?
very much.
You're very
You're
welcome.
welcome. Happy birthday, Maria.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Bit nervous, but hi.
Hello.
Hi. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here and talk to you both. And I've been a big fan of Louise Hay for the past 10 years. And you're a rock star.
You're a rock star.
Yes.
I feel that I wake up sometimes negatively is because I go to sleep with negative thoughts and sometimes not focus on the good that happened during the day and
Yes.
focus on all the faults that happened during the day.
Yes.
And hence, when I wake up in the morning, it's not a good feeling, it's not a very positive feeling
Yes.
on those particular days. But usually I'm very positive. So during these times, yes.
Hold on one second, because this is so important too. He was saying how he recognizes he sometimes doesn't wake up with very positive thoughts, and he's linked it to going to bed at night not having positive thoughts. Do you remember that time when you got a little miffed with me? How'd you like that? Because I said, I made the mistake of mentioning that sometimes I would lay in bed at night and on my iPhone I would read a little of the news. She said,
no, never before you go to bed at night,
No.
never.
And we're going to talk about, and we could talk about it right now, but the importance of setting your mind up to go into a state of sleep in a very powerful and positive way, because you're smart and you're right. What you're giving yourself, a lot of people will lay in bed at night and focus on what didn't work during the day or what they need to do or what they're unhappy about, because left to our own space, it can be a pretty frightening experience for some people. And the thoughts you put into your head that you go into sleep with will absolutely affect how you wake up.
Right. So can you suggest an affirmation for the same?
Yes, yes. So Louise talked about when you go to bed at night.
Well, when I go to bed at night, what I do is, the last affirmation I use is life loves me. Life on the in-breath and loves me on the out-breath. And I just sort of do that till I drift off to sleep. And, you know, and then I also do affirmations at night. I close the day, you know, it's over and done, and I sort of close it and put it to bed, and thank you, and I'll go over it a bit, but not, you know, if something unpleasant happened during the day or not so pleasant, I'll just say that's over and done, it's gone, good night, you know, it's not part of me now. And I'd like to just close the day and then start in with the life loves me, so that I then will help me wake up in the morning feeling much better. Because how you go to sleep at night, you know, sort of how you go through the night and how you wake up in the morning.
Yes. And if we once again, I'd add a technology piece to that is really good for people who have very busy brains. Do you know what I mean? When you go to sleep at night, your mind is very busy. Or if you wake up in the middle of the night thinking thoughts, you know, your mind is very busy. We live in such an amazing time. There's something called binaural beat technology. Have you ever heard of it? No. Okay, so binaural beat, B-I-N-A-U-R-A-L, binaural beat technology, is it's beats used through headphones that are very quiet and often are covered by ocean waves or rain or fire, crackling fire.
Yes, or a trickling brook.
Trickling brook, exactly.
I like trickling brook.
Yes, so the binaural, because the minute I mentioned this to Louise, she's like, could you download that app on my iPad, which is great. She's so technology-minded. Binaural beat technology, what it does is, when we're talking right now and we're teaching, my brain's making a lot of beta waves, right? Which are the waves that the brain makes when you've got to think and analyze and teach. And when we close our eyes, everybody just close your eyes for a moment. And just close your eyes and take a breath. And if you keep your eyes closed, one of the things that's happening right now is your brain is beginning to make alpha waves, which are a slower brain wave below the beta waves. And your brain is already telling your body to slow down. Okay, you can open your eyes. When we start to go to sleep and we enter into that in-between state, the brain is making theta waves, and we're in an even deeper state. And the state of deep dreamless sleep is when the body is making a lot of delta brain waves. Now, the body's making all of those waves at any given time during the day. It's just a question of how many. When we have a busy mind, and often a negative mind, we're making a lot of beta waves. What binaural beat technology does is you can download an app, you can take an MP3 player, you can take, you know, whatever, but you need to use it with headphones. When you put the headphones in, the beats that are used, the binaural beats on either side, automatically begin to slow the brain waves down, whether you want it to or not. It's amazing. It's a wonderful tool that can be used to teach people to meditate who say they can't meditate because their mind is busy. So what I would do is I would combine this technology. For example, on the iPhone, there's an app called Altered States, where you can, there's a one binaural beat message for creative thinking, so it encourages theta waves. There's one for deep sleep, encourages delta waves. And there's a ton of apps now, and if you just simply Google binaural beat, you'll find, I'm sorry? Yes, it's B as in boy, I, N as in Nancy, A, U, R as in Robert, A, L as in Lori, okay, binaural beat. So what I would do is I would combine this. This is really great high-tech affirmation Louise Hay style. I would use binaural beat technology, and I would be affirming, life loves me, life loves me. And you'll find, in the beginning, it may take 10 or 15 minutes for you to drift off to sleep. Your brain becomes entrained with the technology so that it actually learns it, so that over time you can wake up at 3 in the morning, Nancy's done this, all of a sudden you're wide awake, you put the altered states on or some kind of binaural beat, within 5 minutes you're in a relaxed state, and within 10 minutes you're sound asleep. That's going to be a beautiful way for you to put yourself to sleep with affirmations. And you could do, I mean, I have a binaural beat program that was custom designed that has affirmations, custom designed by me, playing in the background.
How do you do that?
Well, I hired a company who did it for me. I'll turn you on to it.
Okay.
Because it's not available here, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find someone who can do that, so that I can actually go to sleep with the affirmations that I've chosen and designed playing in the background.
With the beats that you want.
With the beats, that's correct. That's correct.
Great.
It's a wonderful use of technology. A lot of Buddhist monks, some of the Buddhist monks who've been meditating for 25 years are using this technology. And that's a great way to go to sleep. And I bet you'll find that combined with morning affirmations and rituals will really transform your life.
Yes.
I do express gratitude every morning, and at night I say a small prayer.
Yes.
And usually I'm a very positive person. It's only sometimes that you tend to focus on imperfections, maybe in people or of things or of my own life, rather than to look at what's good in it.
Here's the important thing to know. We have fooled ourselves into believing that if we just ruminate on problems long enough, they'll somehow get solved. And that's a lie. We're going to talk a little bit more probably tomorrow about complaining and worrying and how those affirmations affect our lives. But really, has anyone ever had the experience of knowing on some level that you think if you worry about something long enough, you'll figure it out? It's not true. It's absolutely not true. If it were true, we'd all be using the strategy, we'd have it down to a science in 5 minutes, right? Because we worry so much.
Yes, but I think what you're asking is just how can you be gentle with yourself when that happens?
Exactly.
You know,
That's what he needs.
Yes,
You're right.
you know,
To try and focus more.
Yes.
There's a lot of good in my life, and I'd rather focus on that instead of focusing on...
Well, I would treat it as a very non-important thing. Oh, here come some of those thoughts. You know, I don't need to focus on them. I have a good life. My life is really good. And what can I think that'll make me feel better this morning? So don't make it as a big deal. They're just, it's old patterns. I would rather have joy than worry thoughts. It would be much nicer.
Great,
I
thank you.
accept joy.
Well, and you know, the moment of joy exercise that we did in the beginning, because on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being I have no joy and 10 being I have more joy than you could imagine, where does it fall on that scale, do you think, in your life?
Maybe 7.
Okay.
7's good.
7's good.
Excellent.
Right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome. So what's the time of day for you that you need a good affirmation?
Generally, again, like the First Lady, mornings and early evenings with my 5-year-old daughter.
With your 5-year-old daughter?
Yeah, I'm a single mother. 2.5 years ago, she had a major stroke.
Oh.
It caused a lot of emotional problems for her.
Yes.
So for me, I find it very difficult. And I was also talking to someone else before saying I've got a bit of a block with completely accepting and loving her. Obviously, I love her immensely.
Of course.
But maybe it's a slight fear that she will disappear. Anyway, so I find I'm frustrated and intolerant of her certain behaviors at this time, you know, the difficult times of the day. So I was trying to affirm that, you know, I love and accept her for who she is.
Yes. So the very first question I have for you is, how much support do you have in your life?
In the beginning, very little, although I have found that I'm also living in a foreign country where I had no family, didn't speak the language when all of this happened. I have found that I've drawn amazing people into my life.
And how well do you receive from those amazing people?
Not very well,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Yes,
this is...
I feel I should be doing everything on my own,
Who told you-
perfectly.
Whose voice is that? Close your eyes for a moment. Take a breath. Just close your eyes. It's okay.
Breathe in,
Yes.
breathe out.
Who told you you should be doing everything and you should be doing it perfectly?
I can only really see myself. You know, going back thinking certain things wouldn't have happened to me if I was the person that could do everything or was stronger.
Certain things wouldn't have happened to you if you were the person who could do everything? Wow, who was really hard on you growing up?
Probably my parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody was really harsh with you. Because that's a huge weight to carry on those beautiful shoulders of yours. I can feel the weight just looking at you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, things have gotten a lot better.
I'm
you know.
sure they have gotten better because you're here. And obviously you're awake and aware and interested. But you know, you had a 5-year-old daughter who had a stroke and who is then affected by that. So she has special needs.
Yeah.
And you're a single mother. That in and of itself is a recipe for massive amounts of support. But when you combine that with the belief that you should be able to do everything yourself and you should be strong, that's a recipe for disaster. So I would encourage you to use affirmations like, I love receiving support. I am masterful at finding people to help me. I say yes to every offer of help and support.
Is somebody writing this down for her?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, would somebody, this lovely woman right here is going to do that. Are you here by yourself or with someone?
By myself.
By yourself. Okay, great. So let's get
You
that.
can do it yourself, we know.
Yes. So you see, the reason this is important is because very often we deal with the symptom of a problem instead of the source of a problem. And we've got to look to the source.
Yeah.
So I don't want to send you away from here with an affirmation about loving your daughter, because the resentment you feel is about the fact some part of you is wise enough to know you shouldn't have to be doing this all on your own. It's not right. We're not meant to live like that. We're meant to be connected to one another, to belong to one another, to support one another. That's the framework of our humanity. And usually what gets in the way of a woman getting the support she needs is that woman, because she thinks she should do it all
Yeah,
her own.
definitely.
Yes.
And you can't. You just can't. You'll destroy yourself.
Yeah. And if my husband were sitting here next to me, he would say, trust me, she knows what she's talking about, because as Louise said earlier, I grew up the oldest of 7 children. My whole value came from taking care of people.
Yeah.
And in the last 4 years especially, I have become a master at delegating, asking for help, finding the perfect people to help me,
Yeah.
receiving their love and support. And I'm 52. I'm almost 52. It's taken me that long. I'd like to cut out some years for you. You know?
Thank you.
Yes. So I would encourage you to do 2 things. Start using affirmations about receiving support. I allow a reserve of love and support into my life. I love receiving help. And the next time someone says to you, can I take that bag for you? You say yes. Or the next time someone says, can I help you? I remember when a man said to me, can I help you put that luggage up? And I would always say no.
Oh, I can do it.
I can do it, exactly. And now I say,
Are we
thank you
nuts?
so much. I would be happy for you to put my luggage. The little ways every day where we retrain ourselves to receive. Because then life gets the message. You see, right now, life's hearing you say, no, no, I can do it all myself. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I would be resentful too. And your daughter needs you to learn this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Let's talk about ending the day. Let's talk a little bit more about that, because we talked about, tomorrow we're going to talk about work. We're going to talk about the work day. We're going to talk about
The
complaining and
workplace.
worrying, the workplace. But today we wanted to focus on really bringing intention and attention to your whole day. So I love when you said to me, you know, what do you say to yourself when you come home and you're opening the door? Think about that. When you come home from the end of the day and you're unlocking your door, what are you saying to yourself? What are you saying as you're taking the tube home or driving? Are you anticipating a wonderful, fun evening? Or are you thinking things like, oh, there's nothing in the refrigerator, or, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to have to, you know, take care of the kids, or how are you planning your homecoming?
Well, this is what I've said here. Good evening, house. I'm back home. I'm so glad to be here. I love you. Let's have a great evening together. That's a little different, isn't it? I'm so looking forward to seeing my family. We'll have a lovely time together tonight. The kids whiz through their homework in no time, and dinner seems to make itself.
I love that.
You know, these affirmations can make life easier. They sound funny, but if you say them, they change the atmosphere of the house and the kitchen and the dining room, wherever you all eat, or if you eat by yourself. It's up to us to make it a lovely time. And what is it we want? And if we're by ourselves, it can still be a lovely time. If you figure that the evenings are always harmonious for the whole family, that will start to happen. Thinking of what you want and how you want this to be. I know it sounds simple, and you think, well, if you were in my house, you wouldn't say that. But what is it you want? So what can you say? How can you smooth out the rough edges? Just by what you're starting to think. If these affirmations sound funny to you, then how could you change them? Or what affirmation could you write for yourself that would make an evening a nice thing, make coming home a pleasure? Might be some things that you might do before you go to sleep tonight. Just think what affirmations you could say for making an evening in your house something you would enjoy.
You see, what we're talking about is bringing more intention to how we live our lives. And most of us just fly through our lives trying to get through the day, to get through the evening. And the more we create these little rituals, the more at peace and the more comfortable our life becomes. As a matter of fact, can I see the book for one
Yes.
second? You said something. Did you want to?
No, that's
your
all right.
spot. Okay. I just want to. When Louise said, we're talking about shifting the energy. Hold on one second. Stay with me, everybody, because this
Sure,
is important.
we're right here.
Okay, good.
We're not going to leave
All
you,
right, don't
not
go
for a
anywhere.
second.
Don't leave me. Don't. No. Okay.
I think that's what Michael says.
I know.
Don't leave
Don't
me.
leave me, don't. And that's what he does say. He'll go, don't leave me, don't. But he also just appreciates the work I do in the world. And I appreciate, behind everybody like me doing my work is a wonderful, wonderful person who, without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, that's for sure. Okay. I want to just read you this one part in the book because while it looks like we're talking about using affirmations to create a day that feels good, we're talking about so much more. We are powerful, creative beings who determine our future with every thought we think and every word we speak. This is the first thing Louise says when I turn on the voice recorder at the start of our next session. We're sitting opposite each other, stretched out in a long window seat in my hotel room, overlooking the city of Toronto below. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon, and as I consider Louise's remark, I realize that at its core, this message is one of the most important. In our purest, most positive state of mind, we are powerful creators of our very best lives. When we think good thoughts, we feel good. When we feel good, we make good choices. When we feel good and make good choices, we draw more good experiences into our life. It really is that simple and elegant and true. Science tells us that energy waves are the stuff of the universe, and that every breath we take and every thought we think has a direct effect on something or someone in it, in this universe. The chair I sit on, the keyboard I use to write, and the beautiful magnolia tree outside my window are all made of energy. The speed with which an object vibrates determines the density of its form. This energy is directly influenced by the thoughts we think, the words we speak, and the actions we take. These thoughts, words, and actions produce feelings, and our feelings become the currency with which we purchase our life experiences. So when we think a thought, or we speak a word, or we take an action in the world, we send out energy into the world, and if we could see it, it would profoundly change all of our experience on Earth. If we could see that the words we speak, I love in the movie, the new Hay House movie, Painting the Future, when the little girl Lupe says, the molecules hear you when you speak. Isn't that beautiful? 9-year-old little girl. The molecules hear you when you speak. And those molecules join together to form that which you speak, that which you think. And so this isn't just about, oh, I want to feel good, make money, and have a nice relationship. This is about the influence we have on the world and the amazing way that we're able to draw to us people and experiences and, yes, material objects as well, based on claiming ownership of this power. So we're using the day as the model for training you to use your mind for something even greater. Does that make sense? You understand? Because really, if we want to take it way out, if we could get a majority of people on this planet to really harness the creative power of their minds, we would not have war on this planet. We would not have the kind of illnesses that we have on this planet. We would have a very different planet if we all got, do something like refrain from watching the news or reading news headlines. It makes me crazy when I see the kind of thoughts that are being installed in your minds by the headlines in a newspaper or magazine, on a website, or on television. So we need to become protective as well about what's going into our eyes and our ears, as well as our mouth, our nutrition. Because it's very powerful. It creates thoughts that then create feelings, and our feelings have tremendous power.
So we'd like you to do some homework tonight of writing some affirmations. Affirmations for morning and affirmations for going to bed. What would you like to think in the morning? And what would comfort you going to sleep? Just do about 6 for each. Just see what you come up with. This is more powerful than you think, because you're training your mind to be a supporter of you, someone who cares about you, someone who wants the best for you. It's wonderful to have massages. Massages are so great. They do wonders for everybody. But there are many people who can't afford the luxury of a massage. But something we can all do that feels good is give hugs. We can make sort of a thing of how many hugs can we give in a day. To start with, maybe 2 might be a lot. So one of the things we're going to do tonight when we leave, after a nice little affirmation, is hug as many people as you can on the way out. You don't have to count, just how many feels comfortable. And just realize what you're giving to the other person when you do that. Now feel how good it feels to get. I think we need to make more habits of hugging. More habits of hugging. What would you like to say, my dear?
Remember when we taught the Miraval retreat last year? We taught a 5-day retreat at this beautiful spa in Arizona in the States. We had 100 women at this resort, and at the end of each day, we would end with hug time. And in the beginning, the women were a little nervous, you could tell.
Hugging a stranger? Oh my.
I know. You know, they would hug, hug a few people. By the end of the week, we couldn't get them to stop hugging to be able to leave the room. They were all hugging each other because they realized it's another feel-good moment. People felt good hugging. Look, they're already getting their mirrors out. They're taking the clue.
They see me flipping.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a nice affirmation to close to this afternoon.
Yes. And then we'll do the hugs.
Yes. Hi, darling. We've survived the day.
Hi, darling.
We've survived the day. We've had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun.
We've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot.
I'm learning to be closer to you.
I'm learning to be closer to you.
I feel more like you're my friend.
I feel more like you're my friend.
My best friend.
My best friend.
We're going to be together forever.
We're going to be together forever.
You're going to be my longest lasting relationship.
You're going to be my longest lasting relationship.
And I love you so much.
And I love you so much.
I send waves of love to all the people around me.
I send waves of love to all the people around me.
And I receive the love that they send out.
And I receive the love that they send back.
I feel good about myself.
I feel good about myself.
And I am at peace.
And I am at peace.
This is a wonderful, wonderful evening.
This is a wonderful, wonderful evening.
And I'm going to hug as many people as I possibly can on the way out the door.
And I'm going to hug as many people as I possibly can all the way out the door.
Let's go for it, baby.
Let's go for it, baby.